This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a story of pirates in Panamindorah. Written, narrated, and produced by Abigail Hilton. Book 5, Shores Beyond the World. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 6. Chapter 17, Jokes and a Tune.
It seems likely that there are not many wyverns in Wefrevane. I do not think the islands could support more than a few hundred. I suspect that their reproductive cycles are slow, or they may simply take decades to mature and may be subject to other predators during their early lives. Perhaps they are territorial and kill each other, or eat their own young. In any case, the temples seem to support only 1 or 2 wyverns each, and I do not think, based on the rarity of sightings, that there can be a great surplus in the oceans. Gwaine, The Truth About Wyverns.
Gerard came into the outer office, dripping. The deck was heaving under his feet. He had to grab Silvio's desk to keep from falling over as he stripped off his wet clothes. They were in outer waters now, approaching Mance, and the seas were high and stormy. The room was dark except for a line of light shining under the door to the inner office. The light flickered and wavered as the lantern swung on its chain in the room beyond. Gerard did his best to towel off, then staggered into dry pants, still clinging to the edge of the desk. He felt something sticking in his hair and picked it off, staring at it in the dim light. A leaf, red, fading to gold. It must have blown across the deck from some island, perhaps even from Mance. Gerard looked at it with mixed feelings. Fall. No doubt about it. Bloom Moon had started to wax with the others. Summer was dying. Gerard finished dressing and opened the door to the inner office, his office now, but still Silvio's library. The room looked cozy this evening, for all the ship's pitching. Silvio and Dakar were stretched out on pillows to either side of a board made of heavy polished wood. Silvio had commissioned it from the ship's carpenter. The board had peg holes for the pieces, which were also made of wood, and roughly shaped like different kinds of ships. Silvio was holding the board down with one hand. Occasionally it would escape from him and slither a little way across the floor before one of them retrieved it. Gerard leaned against his desk to watch. They were both concentrating. Gerard knew that Silvio was the only person who would still play Dakar's game with her. Gerard had tried to explain to Dakar that others might play it more often if she let them win occasionally. Dakar did not seem to understand the concept. Her gleaming black hair had a crown of dark rainbows this evening in the wavering lamplight. Silvio had tied his own hair back with purple ribbon. He'd finally gotten tired of it getting in his way and cut it to his shoulder blades. He stretched on his belly with the pillow under his chest, his tail a froth of pale fur over his legs. Dakar pulled herself up into a crouch. She moved a piece suddenly, looked up, and smiled. Gerard felt a jolt. That smile was familiar. Silvio gave a little chuckle. The game was over. He stretched, and then reached out to touch her hand.
Dakar, you're a lot like your mother.
The smile vanished.
I don't have a mother.
Silvio pursed his lips.
You do. A very smart one. You're smart too. That's nothing to be ashamed of.
Dakar folded her hands. Gerard sat down beside her.
I want to be a Shelt,
she said quietly. Silvio had a single finger hooked around one of Dakar's, keeping that contact so that he could speak to her.
Dakar, your father...
I don't have a father,
she snapped. She jerked her hand away from Silvio's and leaned against Gerard. This surprised him. It wasn't the sort of thing Dakar usually did. He put an arm around her. Finally, she raised her head, an apprehensive expression on her face. Silvio was still stretched out on the pillow, watching her with his head on one side.
Silvio? Mouse says he doesn't have a father or mother. Why can't I be like Mouse?
Mouse had a father and a mother. He just didn't know them.
Gerard relayed this message. Dakar reached for Silvio's hand again.
Does she have to be my mother?
I'm afraid that's not something you get to choose, sweet. You don't have to make her mistakes, though.
He glanced up.
Gerard, can I talk to Dakar alone for a bit?
Gerard got up and went into bed. Silvio came in perhaps an 8th watch later. He was so lost in thought that he sat down on the edge of the bed and didn't get any further. Gerard waited, then put an arm around his waist.
Did you give her any helpful advice about mothers who use their children? You're not listening.
Gerard listened to the rain. He felt Silvio's warmth against his arm, the prickle of his tail against Gerard's chest. Finally, something disquieting occurred to him. The look of satisfaction on Silvio's face as he'd said,
Dakar, you're a lot like your mother.
Silvio, have you been playing that game with her too?
Silvio finally came out of his reverie.
Gerard, you're angry with me. Why?
You've been playing that game with her because you're trying to see something about Marcella.
Silvio scooted back into the bed and leaned against Gerard's chest.
Oh, that's not quite fair. I like playing her game. She likes having someone to play it with.
Yes, but she's not a little model of her mother for you to study.
Silvio winced.
Gerard, I do understand what it's like to both love and hate a mother who doesn't know how to love anyone. I know what it's like to be an angry kid, feeling things that are too big for you.
Gerard relaxed a little.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'll be curious to see what's happening in Wefrevane. We haven't touched an island in over a red month. I'll be curious to hear the news when we go ashore tomorrow.
They sailed to Manse in the Meerkat. This was not a comfortable arrangement. Alcere had taken up about 2/3 of the boat, but Felbane covered nearly the entire floor, making it both crowded and low in the water. He could have flown, but Gerard wanted to make sure the journey was possible with him inside, since treatment of his wing might force him to ride in the boat coming back. They beached the Meerkat on a lonely stretch of sand and dragged it into the dense underbrush. Then they got on Felbane and flew. They were not far from the bestiary, but Silvio wanted to get his money first. They flew all day at a leisurely pace, eating food they brought with them. That night, they decided to stay in an inn. It was risky, but Silvio wanted to hear the local gossip. Before they went into town, Silvio wrapped his tail in dark blue ribbon, a fashion common among female Grishnards. He left a tuft, which could be mistaken for a Grishnard's. Then he braided his hair, in the way that girls sometimes braided it, and put on a dress, worn and a little stained, probably borrowed from one of the Aslan children aboard ship. He completed the disguise with some beaded boots and a scarf tied under his chin to hide the not-quite-female contours of his throat.
Now I'm your daughter. Stop making faces, Gerard.
Couldn't you be anything else?
Yes, and I will be tomorrow, if I think it's safe. Tonight, I want to be invisible. I've met lots of little girls too shy to talk. Shelts might be looking for a mute foxling, but not a shy little Grishnard girl.
Most Grishnards don't have white fur.
A few do. In my experience, no one questions it together with my size and clothes. Come on.
They left Felbane in the jungle for the night and walked towards town.
In your experience?
Repeated Gerard.
You want to hear about it?
No.
They found the inn that seemed to have the busiest common room. After dinner, Silvio surprised Gerard by getting up and heading for the door.
You stay here. Find out what you can. I'll be back before too late.
Where are you going?
To find some local children. Amazing the things children hear. Besides, no one's going to tell you anything scandalous with your little daughter tagging along. Go make friends, Gerard. You're good at that.
So he did. He bought drinks for a table of local Grishnards playing cards. They let him join, and Gerard found that Basil had actually taught him something useful. He won, twice, felt bad about it, and bought them all drinks again, which instantly restored their goodwill. They talked freely about local gossip, their own lives and businesses. Gerard couldn't think of a way to get the conversation around to what he wanted, broader news about the Crescent. Finally, he said,
Someone in the last town told me a funny joke. What's the difference between a wyvern and a reef shark?
Gerard held his breath. A pious gathering might react badly, but these Shelts didn't strike him as a bunch of temple regulars. They just looked at him. Then someone smiled, and Gerard delivered the punchline.
About 400 cowries on the black market.
The person who'd smiled barked a laugh. After a moment, most of the others joined in.
I've got another. What should a Shelt wear to please the gods at Moon Festival?
Condiments.
Snickered another, who'd obviously heard that joke too. A little later, Silvio sidled up to Gerard and tugged demurely on the hem of his coat. Gerard lay down his cards.
My daughter is tired. It was good meeting you all.
Their hearty well wishes followed him out of the noisy common room. Silvio gave a little chuckle.
If you'd stayed a little longer, we could have made some money cheating at cards.
I'm sure we could. Have you been playing in the dirt?
Yes, there was some game that involved drawing lines and jumping around a lot. The kids were playing cards, too, and I think it was the same game as yours. There was also something with sticks, although I couldn't quite get the hang of it.
They found their room, and Gerard shut the door. He lit the candle beside the bed and started taking off his boots.
If I were you, I could probably have thought of a way to make that group talk about politics. As it was, I only learned that they know a dozen jokes that you and Basil came up with for Gwain's book.
Silvio grinned.
That's valuable information. The kids weren't talking much, and of course I couldn't ask questions. I was thinking the evening might have been a waste, and then one of them started humming Thess's song.
Thess's? You mean?
The ballad we stamped in the book with Myrta's pretty woodcut. The one that tells the story about the old monuments and how the wyverns used to be protectors and then turned into predators. The kids weren't singing the words, but they were humming the tune.
He grinned.
Sublime music and rude jokes. They travel fast and stick hard.
Gerard laughed.
Everything but reasonable words on paper. Gwain would be so disappointed.
Oh no, the whole book is here, I promise you. Manse is the place for books in Wefervain. Someone on the island is selling it, probably several someones. I'd love to buy a copy just to see how much they're charging, but that's probably a needlessly dangerous thing to do.
Silvio hadn't undressed, so Gerard pulled him over, untied his sash, and pulled the dress off over his head. Silvio started to unbraid his hair.
This disguise bothers you, doesn't it?
Does that surprise you?
He gave a curious smile.
Gerard, sometimes in your dreams I'm a girl.
Gerard squirmed. He'd rather hoped that Silvio hadn't noticed.
Did you ever want to be a girl? I mean, the kind of stuff you like to wear.
Silvio let his scarf drift to the floor. He crawled, yawning, under the covers.
No, not really. It doesn't seem practical. Shelts aren't very nice to girls in some parts of Wefervain. Harder to get things done.
You would cite practicality as a reason for gender preference.
Seems as good a reason as any to me.
Gerard crawled in beside him and blew out the candle.
Those dreams don't mean I'm not happy.
I know, but I wouldn't mind playing dress-up for you. It doesn't bother me, doesn't make me feel inadequate.
He hesitated.
Is it really the dress, or more the kid thing that you don't like?
More the kid thing, but I don't want you to wear a dress either. I like you the way you are.
Silvio giggled.
I'm noticing that.
Gerard pretended not to understand.
Oh?
That's not my hair you're playing with.
You don't flinch anymore when I touch you.
No, you've acclimated me. You've worked on the problem so diligently. I'm surprised you haven't tried it in front of the crew.
Gerard grimaced. Silvio was shaking with laughter.
Gerard, sometimes you're still fun to tease. Sleep now. Tomorrow will be a long day.
Chapter 18. A Bank and the House of the Dead.
The first banks in Wefervain were the temples, which during more barbaric times probably seemed like the only safe, stable place to store money. Of course, the gods were given an offering for their assistance. Some scholars believe that these fees were the first sources of temple revenue. Gwaine, A Guide to Wefravain.
The next day found them cautiously entering Port Allard around mid-morning. True to his word, Silvio had changed his disguise before they climbed onto Felbane. Now he was a grey foxling, wearing subdued brown and black clothes. The dye he used was a powder, which he dusted all over himself. Then he dampened it, rubbed it in, and gave it a few moments to dry. His fur and hair turned a very dark grey, almost black.
"This will dissolve with a thorough soaking,"
he told Gerard.
"But I only want it for today. I don't think we attracted any attention last night, but if we did, if our descriptions circulated, we won't be the same Shelts today."
I will,
Gerard pointed out. Silvio shrugged.
"Your height is your most noticeable trait, and that's difficult to disguise. That black hair of yours would also be difficult to dye. We'd have to bleach it."
I'm not very disguisable.
"But you're a Grishnard. Your best disguise is to look ordinary. I'm the one Shelts immediately notice. They'll describe me later, not you."
He grinned.
"Unless we put you in a hat and cape and flashy boots, then no one will ever forget you."
It was a foggy morning, and the air over the city smelled of cooking meat, wet fur, and the sharp ammonia of the tanneries that produce leather and vellum for books. They rode Felbane into the thick of the business district, which Gerard didn't like. Felbane was memorable and impossible to disguise.
"He can meet us when we're finished,"
Silvio told Gerard.
"He doesn't need to stand around in the street."
I thought you said your money wasn't in a bank.
Said Gerard, as they went up the steps of a very bank-like building.
"The money isn't. The bank is just the first layer."
As they entered, Gerard felt a prickle on the back of his neck and turned around. He saw something swirl in the fog around the corner of the building.
Silvio, does this account have your name on it?
"Of course not."
Did anyone know it was your account?
Silvio was bristling a little, and he answered sharply.
"Gerard, we're here. We're going to do this and get out. Now go up there and ask for the box belonging to Nix."
Nix.
Thought Gerard.
Well, at least it's a name you didn't talk about.
Gerard spoke to the white-clad girl behind the counter. Like most banks, this one looked a little like a temple, with colorful painted columns, a fountain, and floors of polished marble. There were also a couple of mean-looking Griffin and Grishnard guards. They had demanded Gerard's sword at the door, and he felt naked without it.
Let this be over quickly.
He told the girl what he wanted, and she asked for a number. Silvio rattled it off, and Gerard repeated it. The wait was mercifully brief before she returned with a box no bigger than the palm of Gerard's hand. He took it. Silvio was already moving away. He was bristling more than when they'd entered.
What's wrong?
Gerard asked, as he retrieved his sword from the guard, and they stepped outside again. Silvio was walking very fast and didn't answer. Felbane would be overhead somewhere in the fog. Silvio had given him instructions about where to meet them. Gerard opened the box. It contained a single, unmarked key. Silvio rounded a corner, stopped suddenly, and jerked Gerard into an alley.
"Don't speak."
After a moment, Gerard heard soft footsteps. Silvio tensed.
"I thought so. We're being followed. Do you think you can grab him, restrain him, make him quiet? Because otherwise, I'm going to kill him."
I can grab him. Is there only one?
Silvio listened hard.
"Yes."
Gerard tensed. The footsteps came on, quickening now as the person failed to spot his quarry. A shadow loomed up in the street beside the alley, and just as the person came alongside, Gerard lunged. He must have hit their stalker a little too hard, because the body staggered and crumpled. Gerard pulled it into the alley. It was a Grishnard, wearing some kind of black and gold uniform. He was young, somewhat less than 20. His eyes fluttered up, and he opened his mouth as though to shout, but Gerard's hand closed around his throat.
Be quiet if you like to breathe.
The stranger's frightened eyes flicked rapidly between Silvio and Gerard.
Why were you following us?
"I was ordered to,"
said the stranger.
"For a yellow month, I've been standing outside that bank, and I was supposed to follow any foxling that went in.
He swallowed.
We've been watching all the banks."
He was starting to tremble. Gerard let go of his throat.
We won't hurt you if you don't try to hurt us. What's your name? Who's your employer?
Ronnet. Temple Police. Numensian branch.
Silvio's expression soured.
"So they've got branches on every great island again. as they used to before Marlowe got hold of them. Ask him whether anyone else knows we were at the bank.
Gerard asked. Ronnet looked frightened.
My partner was to run back to the office, and I was to follow.
Gerard scowled and stood up.
We've got to get out of here.
One more thing. Ask him about the book. Ask him what's happening on CERN.
Gwain's books.
Hissed Gerard at the cowering Ronnet.
The Truth About Wyverns, The Non-Grishnards of Wefervain. Do those titles sound familiar?
Ronnet's eyes went as round as black marbles.
Yes, we burned a dozen 2 days ago.
And CERN, what's happening there?
CERN?
Ronnet reached up to touch his face and winced. He had a swelling lump on the side of his head where Gerard had hit him. Gerard sighed.
Would you like to come with us, join a pirate ship?
Gerard, quit wasting time.
But he's too frightened to follow along.
Or stalling.
They were confusing their prisoner. He kept frowning as he glanced between them.
You're them, aren't you? The defectors, the pirates, Cowry catchers.
Silvio seemed pleased.
We're a them.
CERN, we just want to know whether there's still unrest in Slag.
A nervous laugh bubbled out of their captive.
You could say that. No one will take their ships into Slag Harbor for fear it's catching. Even ports on the far side of the island aren't seeing much trade. The king has fled with his court. They're in exile on Haplag.
Gerard was astonished. Even Silvio looked taken aback.
Ask him about the Ocelons,
whispered Silvio, but Gerard was already speaking. Ronnet shook his head.
Ocelons and Leopons are slave species now. They've been arrested on every island, those that haven't fled. We can't trust them because of what's happened on CERN, so we're branding them and selling them to the Hunty. Captain Arundel says we have to get them out of the Crescent, but the priestess has been merciful. They're not to die. We just sell them inland where they can't cause trouble. Revenues go to the temple because we're doing the work to protect everyone.
Ronnet made a face.
If you saw what Ocelons have done in the countryside on CERN, you'd understand. Whole Grishnard families murdered. We're having a hard time collecting them off the ships, though. Captains don't want to give them up if they've been with the crews a long time, but we have to remove them. They're dangerous.
He is stalling,
said Silvio in disgust.
But I don't think he's lying.
There's a Leopon calling himself King of Slag Harbor,
continued Ronnet.
Lord of Smoke, they call him, because he's nothing but a sweet leaf smuggler. Some have even been calling him King of CERN. They say he's spreading these vile books. They say the Leopons and Ocelons tore down the temple on CERN. Some even say they killed some of the gods, but that's a lie.
Silvio was tugging on Gerard's sleeve.
Come on, Gerard. Things are hotter here than I expected. They'll be out for blood. Come on.
Do you want to come with us?
Gerard asked Ronnet. He was actually impressed when the youngster found the courage to spit in his face.
So I can join you when the priestess gelds you and feeds you to her dragons? I haven't told you anything you couldn't have heard in half the taverns in town. The other police will be here any minute to...
Gerard cut him off with a blow to the head. He might die, although Gerard doubted it. He certainly wouldn't be selling anyone into slavery for a while.
You should have fed him false information before you did that,
complained Silvio as they left the alley at a run.
Aren't you going to berate me for not killing him?
No, they already know what we look like.
Silvio led the way through the foggy streets. He stopped several times to listen. Gerard thought he heard noises in the distance, confused shouting, running feet. It was Gerard's turn to drag Silvio into an alley when he caught a blur in the fog overhead. An instant later, a feathered shape dropped down to skim over the cobbles. They crouched beside a rain barrel and let the unknown griffin pass.
How much further?
Gerard asked.
Almost there. Felbane should be on the roof.
They arrived moments later at a gray stone building on the edge of the business district.
House of the Dead?
Asked Gerard in confusion. Silvio nodded. He bounded up the steps, through the polished metal doors. Sometimes an expensive House of the Dead had attendants to protect jeweled sarcophagi from vandals, but this was no such establishment. The shelts and animals whose ashes rested here had humble plaques. Most of the remains had been deposited in locked drawers, with a scattering of urns upon the shelves. Silvio stopped by one drawer and held out his hand for the key. Gerard recognized the name on the plaque. Malpin.
It's not really.
No, but I think he'd appreciate his monument.
Inside sat a carved wooden box about the length of Gerard's forearm. It was the sort of box made for ashes, but it was much heavier than ashes. Gerard hoisted the box onto his shoulder. Silvio seemed to be debating something.
One moment.
He drew out a throwing knife and used it to lever up the lining of the drawer. The vault's bottom concealed a bundle of what looked like letters. Silvio stuck them in his pocket, shut the drawer, and locked it. He reached out briefly to touch the plaque with Malpin's name.
All right. I'm ready.
Chapter 19. The Bestiary.
The Bestiary is one of the oldest schools in Wefravane. I suspect it predates the rise of the priestess cult. Rumor has it that the school museum once housed wyvern bones, but a mysterious fire consumed the building nearly 60 years ago. I'm surprised it took the priestess so long to get around to it. Gwaine, the truth about wyverns.
It was late afternoon before Gerard started to breathe easily. He had insisted they dismount once they reached the jungle.
We're too easy to spot in the air. The police might have sent griffins. Alsair might be out there.
So they tramped through muddy gullies, up stream beds, through thickets, and over rocky slopes until they were sweaty, scratched, and tired. They camped under the stars with no fire, pillowed against Felbane. Before they went to sleep, Silvio opened the box and showed Gerard its contents. They were coins in the highest denominations. Some were ancient works of art worth much more than the gold they were minted on. Such coins were once given as royal favors before the minting of money became common in the islands. Some of them had holes, as though they were intended to be worn as medallions. They were inlaid with silver, lapis, and mother of pearl, set with gemstones, and inscribed with the names of famous kings, long dead. Gerard stared at them in the light of 3 moons.
Where did you get these, Silvio?
He shrugged.
Bought them, traded for them, collected them. I love the way they look, but they're also a compact way to store a lot of money. Their value would make an unwieldy lot of Cowry coins.
I suppose so. What was that bundle of paper underneath them?
Silvio gave a faint smile.
Insurance.
He would say no more. The next day they took to the air again, flying low along the course of the river, and reached the bestiary about nightfall. They left Felbane lurking beside some trees in a field, and walked into town. Silvio's grey fur dye was streaked with lighter shades from their muddy hike the day before, but he did not seem concerned.
Everyone will think I'm just a normal white foxling, changing my grey summer coat for my white winter one. Any community with healers will have a higher than average number of foxlings. Last I knew, the school had several foxling teachers. I shouldn't attract special attention.
Gerard wasn't sure what he'd expected the bestiary to look like. A giant farm, perhaps, or a zoo. In fact, it looked much like any small town of the type that grew up around schools. In the cool of the evening, the streets teemed with students returning from classes. There seemed to be a great many friendly drinking establishments and restaurants along the main thoroughfare, with enthusiastic songs, dances, games, and arguments underway. They passed a fountain shaped like a griffin, and then one shaped like a pegasus. Gerard was beginning to wish they'd brought Felbane into town, so they wouldn't need to go back for him. The streets were full of animals, mostly griffins, ocelots, and pegasus. Gerard saw a leopard wearing a collar, and a bored-looking lion stretched outside someone's door. An animal a little smaller than an ocelot darted past them, and Gerard turned for a better look.
Silvio, that was a fox.
Yes, I saw it. Don't call me Silvio.
Sorry.
We're looking for number 12 Almond Street. That's the last address I had for him.
Did he write you?
Silvio nodded.
Several times during that year after you left. I destroyed a lot of my papers in a drunken fit one night. I hope I got his letters. I don't know whether Nern or Arundel would have targeted my correspondence, but it's possible.
Gerard had to ask directions, but they eventually found the street, a row of student-occupied communal buildings. The person who answered Gerard's knock was not Arden, nor had she ever heard of him.
Just ask where we can have a griffin's wing examined. We can't waste time here.
The girl told them that they could inquire at the school for the best prices, or they could go to a district on the south side of town where professionals practiced beast medicine in a bewildering array of specialties.
We don't need best prices,
said Silvio as they walked away.
We just need quick and competent. We'll get Felbane to go to the professional district. Perhaps we'll find someone who can look at him tonight.
They went back the way they had come, through streets now thick with evening activity. The taverns here had a different character from those Gerard was accustomed to around the docks. These were full of youngsters poring over books or giving impromptu lectures to each other, sometimes with animals standing on tables as examples and offering lively commentary of their own. The music was more varied, often produced by the students themselves, and the prostitutes were fewer, younger, and, Gerard suspected, cheaper. There was a strange, invigorating mixture of frivolity and intellectual curiosity. The graffiti on tables and chairs consisted of mathematical equations and obscene rhymes in High Grishnard. Gerard kept wanting to stop and look at things, and Silvio kept trying to hurry him. He was surprised when Silvio stopped so suddenly that Gerard almost tripped over him.
What are you...
Silvio held up a hand. His ears were pricked, his eyes almost shut, listening. He turned and started through the crowd towards one of the brightly lit doorways, propped open with a discarded boot. Gerard followed. They stepped through the door into a crowded room where everyone seemed to be in the midst of an argument. The two main opponents had gotten up on tables and were shouting at each other.
Wyverns are not beasts,
said one.
So you keep telling us,
said the other.
But you still haven't articulated a clear definition of beast.
Gods are not beasts because they are not of our substance. They do not age or die.
How do you know? Have you ever studied one? Have any of us?
They eat, don't they?
Shouted someone from the crowd.
Doesn't that mean they can starve?
Whether or not they appear to us like beasts is immaterial,
said the first speaker.
They are still gods. They say that they are not beasts, and I believe them.
So they get to define everything. They're right because they say they're right.
A storm of argument erupted.
Because they are powerful,
someone shouted.
Are you saying that because they are strong, they're right?
They would not abuse power.
They are incapable of evil.
They are the definition of evil.
They only devour in love, not because they need to eat.
Well, I hope they don't love me.
Gerard heard a few weak growls of
sacrilege
and
Temple Police.
Silvio had been sidling around the edge of the room. At first, Gerard thought he was only interested in the debate. However, as they drew closer to one of the speakers, Gerard thought he recognized the tilt of the head and shoulders, together with the slightly curly, reddish-brown hair. He'd grown taller, and his voice was becoming lower and smoother. But still, the head turned, and his gaze swept over them.
Your argument is circular in that...
His voice faltered. Silvio was waving. Arton recovered quickly. He gave a minute jerk of his head, then looked away and kept talking. Gerard turned to see Silvio already halfway to the door. They sat on a bench against a nearby building and listened to the debate dissolve into a cacophony of shouting. There was a breaking sound from inside, and shots and animals poured into the street. Gerard heard the owner loudly exclaiming that there would be no fights in his establishment and that he was closed for the night. A moment later, Gerard caught sight of Arton, walking quickly away. Several Shelts tried to grab his arm, but he shook them off. He walked right past Gerard and Silvio without looking at them. Silvio got up and followed, keeping a careful distance. They went down several streets, away from the commercial area and back into the jumble of housing. Arton stopped in an alley and went up a flight of metal stairs. He unlocked a door, went inside, and shut it. From the street below, they saw him light a lamp inside, and then pull a shade down over the window. Silvio made certain that no one was watching, and then led the way up the metal steps. Gerard tried the door. It was unlocked. Silvio pushed it open and went inside without knocking. Arton was standing right inside the door, and he closed it softly as soon as they entered. Then he crouched and threw his arms around Silvio.
Silvio? Are you insane? The police are looking for you. They came through this morning on griffins. They circulated your description. You cannot be walking around in the street.
Gerard started to say something, but Arton kept talking.
I'm so glad you're alive. I'm so glad to see you. You have to go away.
Silvio gave a muffled laugh.
He says you need to let go of him first.
Arton stood up.
Gerard! I'm glad to see you too. You would not believe the rumors that are flying around.
Oh, well,
Gerard scratched the back of his neck.
some of them are probably true.
Priestess's sake, Arton. Is that who I think it is?
Another person was standing in the far doorway, a Grishnard boy of about Arton's age, with blonde hair so pale that it was almost white. Arton was grinning madly.
Yes, and I almost started a riot in the Grape and Peacock this evening by suggesting that bestiary training should include a study of wyverns.
You and your tavern brawls. Can we put the pirates someplace other than the front of our only window?
The other boy was called Phineas, and he was also a student beast healer. The students' living quarters were essentially a single room. They'd set up screens of wood and paper, artfully arranged to give the illusion of separate spaces. Behind one of these was a small table and chairs. Gerard felt bad that he kept running into things and bumping his head on lamps. Arton and Phineas pretended not to notice. They offered Gerard and Silvio tea and some sort of sweetened bean pulp pastry.
It's a specialty of the region,
Arton said, apologetically.
It will begin to taste like food after only 2 or 3 exposures,
Phineas assured them. Gerard tried to explain quickly what they wanted, in between mouthfuls of hot tea and sweetened bean pulp, while the other two fired questions at him. Were they really leading a pirate fleet? Could Silvio really talk in Gerard's head? Was Gawain the same person who started the Guild of the Cowry Catchers, and was he really a Magian prince? Had they actually written and distributed the book, which the police were trying to find and burn? Gerard answered as succinctly as he could.
Sylvia wants to know whether you've got a copy of the book.
Phineas jumped up, and, after a moment of rummaging, he returned with a palm-sized, leather-bound book. Silvio scooped it up. There was no title on the cover, but the top of the first page said, in crisp, clear, phonetic characters, The Guild of the Cowry Catchers. Silvio laughed.
They changed the title,
said Gerard. Phineas nodded.
Some copies say the truth about wyverns, but the later versions say the Guild of the Cowry Catchers. I think the new title makes Shelts more curious. Also, the newer versions have, stories about all of you.
Silvio grinned.
Like those ballads we keep hearing.
Gerard grimaced.
Utter fiction.
Arton laughed.
Probably, but it sells. Gawain seems to have gone from temple to temple, spiriting off sacrifices in the dead of night, stealing from temple treasure ships with his trusty pirate crew, and giving the money to the poor.
He only spirited off one sacrifice as far as I know, and I don't recall his distributing any money.
Phineas was still talking.
Some Shelts, especially the academics, claim the whole book is satire, and everyone should stop getting so excited about it. It doesn't matter. Everybody's reading it, and talking about it anyway.
Silvio thumbed through the pages, Gerard looking over his shoulder. Most of the woodcut sections were well produced. However, Gerard was intrigued when he realized that more had been added, pictures they'd never created, or improvements upon the ones they had.
Well, I won't say Cullowen doesn't do good work,
said Gerard. Silvio's nostrils twitched. He sniffed at the book, and then started to laugh.
Gawain is going to be insufferable.
Why?
What's he saying?
Asked Arton. Silvio grinned around at them.
Gawain told the Leopons that the best bookmaking paper comes from sweet leaf pulp, and they laughed at him, like books would ever be worth more than sweet leaf.
Gerard started laughing too. He explained the situation to the students, who were even more amused than their guests.
Well, no wonder the police are so anxious to burn it,
said Phineas.
They must have fantastic parties at those fires.
Silvio shook his head.
I'm thinking this is new. It's probably only the most recent books that are being printed on Sweetleaf. If the Ocelons really have taken over Slag Harbor and parts of the countryside, that would give them access to more Sweetleaf than they probably know what to do with.
Gerard translated this. Arton nodded.
The news from CERN is nasty. We're not much affected here, not yet. But most of the Ocelons in our community disappeared overnight. Ran away, I think. And the ones who are left are keeping a very low profile. There's been talk of removing ocelots from our curriculum. It's making a lot of Shelts upset. This is traditionally a place with a lot of species diversity.
Gerard grunted.
Silvio wants something to write with. He asks for paper when he thinks I won't translate something.
Silvio twitched his tail.
Or when I went to have a private conversation.
Arton got up and shuffled through a drawer.
I knew the jokes were yours.
He said over his shoulder.
I knew for sure when I read those that you were alive.
He set a scrap of paper, pen, and ink in front of Silvio.
Arton cried for a yellow month when he thought you died.
Put in Phineas.
He was pathetic.
Arton made a face.
Pathetic and worried. Police came around asking questions. I must have said the right things, because they didn't come back.
Silvio laughed. He wrote,
They'd have had a lot to do if they were going to arrest everyone who was ever in my bed.
Gerard wondered at Silvio's extraordinary lack of tact, but Arton and Phineas only laughed. Silvio got up suddenly and beckoned to Arton. Gerard translated.
He says he'd like to talk to you alone.
When they'd gone to the other side of the screen, Phineas folded his hands and looked at Gerard.
So, this mountain griffin of yours, he's in a field somewhere?
Gerard nodded.
On the edge of town.
Phineas inclined his head.
I am specializing in avian medicine.
Gerard felt relieved.
I'm delighted to hear it. Should we bring him here, or will you come and look at him?
Phineas hesitated.
I'm thinking we may need to re-break and reset the wing. If we do that, he's got to stay off it this time until it heals. However, it should also be exercised with assistance, so that the muscles and joints stay limber and don't atrophy.
You're saying that he'll need medical care for several months.
Phineas nodded.
A red month at least. I could show you, give you drawings.
Arton and Silvio came back around the screen. Silvio looked satisfied, and Arton was beaming.
We're going with them.
He blurted.
I mean, if you want to, Finn.
Phineas stood up and made a court bow to Silvio.
Aye, aye, Skipper.
Silvio laughed.
You will make a terrible sailor. I wager you're some rich lord's bastard. But Arton says you're family, so you can come.
Gerard did not translate. You have been listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. The ebook for Cowry Catchers Book 5 includes 16 illustrations in ink and watercolor by Sarah Cloutier, as well as 13 portraits by Greensprite and 2 versions of the map by Jeff McDowell. The ebook is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, iBooks, and Kobo. The rest of the series is also available as illustrated ebooks, and the entire series is available in non-illustrated paper on Amazon. Visit my website at abigailhilton.com for information, including how to get 25% discounts on paper books and how to order signed books. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman,
as Silvio,
Chris Lester,
as Gwaine,
R.E. Chambliss,
as Dakar,
Jim Keeling,
and
John Miro,
as card players,
Rish Outfield,
as Arton,
Hugh J. O'Donnell,
as Phineas,
John Miro,
as Ronnet,
Nobilis Reed,
Brian Humphrey,
Jim Keeling,
and
Chaz Blanchard,
as student debaters. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music was Grace by Beth Quist. The outro music was Finale, also by Beth Quist. Both were licensed with permission from Magnatune.net. Music for Book 5 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, Jamie Saber, and David Modica, all from Magnatune.net. All the music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works.
And I'm back. This is 2026 Abby coming to you with just a few thoughts on the episode. So here we have a lot of plot developments. We once again have the characters getting back some friends and proteges from much earlier in the story, seeing how those people are doing. You will recall that Silvio sent Arton to school as an act of kindness that he kind of disguises as transactional. And we see that this young man is doing well. One thing I noticed in this one is that I do really like some of the music I found for this podcast. There are a lot of pieces that are just lovely and introspective, very pretty instrumental music. If you would like to hear the full pieces, I do have them available in my store for free. The way that I acquired that music, the license allows me to share it for free, but not to sell it. So anyway, if you are interested in hearing the music on the podcast, I think I say so in the outro, but you probably are skipping the outro at this point. You can go to shop.abigailhilton.com and you can find a number of little bits and pieces that are free there that are related to the podcast, and one of them is the music. All right, that's all I've got to say for now. I will see you in the next episode. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from Magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wefravain saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010, all rights are reserved to the author.